All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, July 28th. We've got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of how we did yesterday, we deserve the womp womp. There we go, 0-2-1. And we got a new little addition to the DMB graveyard there. If you don't know, that is Zach Gallen's face. We've just backed him too many times this year. We had the first 3 under 2.5, and that bottom of the third inning just absolutely blew up in our face. So, you know what, Zach Gallen, until further notice, we're not touching you. Pause. The Astros also don't come through for us. They did hit a couple plays for us recently, so I was that close to being salty and throwing them on the DMB graveyard as well, but ultimately it's just going to be Zach Gallen. But yeah, 0-2-1. Let's get this damn thing off the screen. Hopefully we can do a little bit better today. We also do have an opening for the ride of the day. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag, ride of the day, down on the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you do win, we continue to ride with your play. You keep getting the shout out. You go on a nice little streak. If you lose, you get the shout out, but we do have to drop the womp womp like we just ate from the soundboard, and we still got to talk about it, right? But guys, let's go ahead and dive into today's slate. A lot of decent spots here, so very, very excited to be back from vacation, back in the studio, and ready to roll here, right? FYI, around 3:30, we will be going live discussing some further plays, taking some plays from you guys and kind of analyzing them on screen. So make sure to tune back in right here on YouTube around 3:30 for a live stream in the MLB. But let's dive into these games here. We got Baltimore taking on Toronto, starting us off here. On the mound is Zach Eflin for Baltimore, going up against Chris Bassitt for Toronto. Now, Chris Bassitt was pitching really well. He's definitely had some ups and downs, but he's been pretty, decent overall this year. He's very good against righties. There actually is going to be more lefties in the lineup or projected in the lineup for Baltimore. So I don't know if it's the best spot for Chris Bassitt, but I do think that there's somewhat of a pitching advantage of him over Zach Eflin, right? Eflin really has seemed to struggle both kind of recently and just on the season in general. So advantage pitching probably to Toronto, and then obviously the offenses we know. This is a way better Toronto offense. What I will say is that this is a spot in which, like I mentioned, Bassett's on the road, a couple lefties in the lineup. I think Baltimore can score some runs as well, so I am going to lean towards the over, but ultimately the Jays, just because I can't really see a spot in which they have an advantage, whether you look at the starting pitching, whether you look at the defense, whether you look at the offense, or whether you look at the bullpen, right? So it's going to be Jays for me. The price is a little fishy, but ultimately Jays in the over, and I also like Tyler Heineman here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now, he's been cashing this line fairly, commonly recently. Kirk's out of the lineup. Let's remember that as well. Away games, he's hit this in 8 of his last 10. He's hit it in 8 of his last 10 in general. But away so far on the road, which not the biggest sample size, is obviously the spot that he's in right now, and he has not hit this yet. Now, he's going up against a righty. On the road against righties so far, not even on the road, against righties so far this season, because again, filling in for Kirk, right? He has cashes one, so we have to worry about that. But ultimately, he's going to see the main pitch from Eflin as the cutter, and his WOBA drops down to 259 against that. So I like the spot for his under. You are paying a little bit of juice for it. But those 3 leans, I guess I would say over is probably the main thing I'd look at, then Jays, then the player prop. All right, game number 2, Detroit taking on Arizona. We do have Melton, on the mound for Detroit. He has the 1 start under his belt this year, and it did not exactly go according to plan. He went up against Pittsburgh just about, a week ago, right? 5 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned, 2 home runs. He did have 7 strikeouts, but 2 walks to go alongside that. He's going up against Eduardo Rodriguez, who is coming off a really good start. It was against Houston, which how much can we even value that now? Before that, he had a couple rough starts against San Diego and Kansas City, but before that, he was actually pitching all right. So it's tough to say who has the true starting pitching advantage here. The one thing that I will say and give a little bit of grace to this, Arizona squad and Rodriguez is the fact that Detroit's struggled against lefties lately, and Rodriguez is a lefty. So I do think that Arizona has a few edges in this one, especially given the fact that Melton got hit up in his first start. But again, touted prospect. First start, that was kind of a recipe for disaster. He's at home here. He should be all right, but I do think the Diamondbacks can get to him. But kind of like we talked about with Baltimore and Toronto, it's not like I'm sitting here thinking that Rodriguez goes out there and absolutely throws a gem. So I'll lean Diamondbacks for the plus money in this spot. These odds have been moving all around. Right now, Diamondbacks plus 120-ish, but I also don't mind the over 9. And then Winfield Perez under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is kind of just going off of recent non-success, so recent failures against lefties. Last 30 days, he's batting just 154 against lefties. He's got a 421 OPS, and his fastball and cutter in terms of the pitch mix that he'll see, which is going to be Rodriguez's main two pitches. He has a terrible runs above average. I think it's combined -4, -4. So I like the spot for him. That's probably got the biggest chance of being a final play out of this. And then Diamondbacks. That over could get a little dicey because we've seen the Diamondbacks offense struggle, especially with all of these trades and rumors that are going on, right? But then Winfield Perez, I like that. But Diamondbacks money line and the over, throw in the fact that Detroit doesn't hit lefties that well, makes you a little feel like you're on kind of like thin ice there, taking either of those. So Perez probably has the best chance of being a final play there. All right, moving on, we got the Guardians taking on Colorado. Cleveland coming off of a losing series against Kansas City, and Colorado coming off of a losing series against Baltimore. On the mound for Cleveland's going to be Slade Ciccone. He's going up against Bradley Blaylock, who really hasn't been terrible in his last couple starts. 5 2/3 against Cincinnati, just 1 earned. 5 1/3 against St. Louis, just 2 earned. But Slade Ciccone, I've actually liked what I've seen out of him. He does have that one bad start against the Athletics, but other than that, he's given you, 6-7 innings of 2-run baseball, so massive advantage to the Guards here. This would be probably some sort of a Guardians spot, but the odds are pretty damn tough, right? So maybe a parlay piece. I do like them. I like the direction that their offense is going in. Did it look all that tremendous in that Kansas City series? No, and it did kind of even fade at the end of that Baltimore series, but still looks like they are turning things around just to the slightest degree, right? If you don't like that, then maybe we back Ciccone and his bullpen, right? Colorado's offense, obviously very, very bad. They're gonna see a lot of fastballs, sliders, and curveballs. None of those pitches they hit all that well. So it would be Guardians or team total under for the Rockies in this one for me. All right, real quick, before we move on to the next game, I want to talk to you guys about Sleeper, specifically Sleeper Picks. If you guys have not tried this app out yet, you are missing out on one of the funnest places to get some action down on games. Right now, if you sign up, you can get a free square. I believe it's Paige Bucher tonight, but you'll also get your first deposit matched up to $100. Those aren't even like the best thing that Sleeper does. Seriously, the way the app works, the simplicity of it, the uniqueness of it is really, really cool. Each and every player has its own multiplier, so when you put those players into slips, it changes the payout dynamically. You don't have the fixed payout structure like 2 for 2 is 3x or anything like that. No, each and every play changes the payout, so it's really damn cool. Go ahead and check it out. If it's available in your state and you are not on Sleeper yet, you are missing out. They drop discounts all the time. Yes, you're getting a free one today. Yes, you get your deposit match, but they do so many random discounts throughout the week. And they do boosts, they do protected plays, all that good stuff. I have been loving Sleeper since being on it, and it's been nearly 3 years. So go check that out. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You'll see it say Sleeper. Just click that link, sign up. You can also just use code GUYBOSTON. You'll get all the same goodies, all right? So go ahead and check it out, guys. Trust me, if you don't, you will regret it, especially, if you've been looking for some additional places and something new for player props and stuff like that. Go check it out. That link will be down below. Let's jump back into these games. All right, Yankees taking on Tampa Bay. I think this one should be a good game. You have Cam Schlitter on the mound. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I still haven't learned. Going up against Drew Rasmussen here. Rasmussen, obviously the better pitcher, and he has such good numbers against the Yanks. So dating back multiple years, right? Last 3 starts against him, 0.3 ERA. He did see them this year, earlier in the year, April 18th, 5 2/3, just 3 hits, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts, 1-0 win for the Yankees, though, right? This Yankees offense, I think, is in a better spot, or I shouldn't say I think. They are in a better spot than this Tampa Bay team, but they're coming off of losing that series against Toronto. Then they followed up losing the series against Philadelphia. Aaron Judge is out now, so there's a lot of things going on with this Yankees squad. That being said, I do like the idea of the offense today. So in a narrow margin, and obviously the odds kind of depict that same thought, I'm going to lean towards the Yankees, but I don't mind the idea of an over. The bullpen, I don't trust as far as I can throw them, and you have Schlitter on the mound, who I don't think is all that fantastic. He's been okay in his starts, and he got kind of the run of the stick. Seattle, then Toronto, so maybe this is not even arguably the worst offense that he's seen in his brief MLB stint so far. But to me, that could only add to the Yankees anyways, money line. But to me, I do think Tampa Bay's offense probably can do all right against them. They're just middle of the pack against the fastball, middle of the pack against the slider. You do have a few guys towards the top of that order that seem to hit these pitches fairly well. And back to the Yankees money line take, as much as you're like, oh my God, no Judge, well, Brandon Lowe's out for this Tampa Bay team as well, right? So it's like you have a couple different things pointing me in the Yankees direction for decent odds in a sense. So Yankees in the over is where I'd go in this one, but I think Yankees probably takes the cake if I had to pick one of the two. All right, we have Cincinnati taking on the Dodgers. Chase Burns on the bump going up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Burns really has had a mixed bag of starts, right, since coming into the league. I still think people agree that he's pretty damn electric in terms of his strikeout ability. 20 strikeouts over his last 2 games, just 3 and 2 walks as well. But the team just doesn't win when he's on the mound. They're just 1-4 so far. Now we have Yamamoto on the mound, who's been very, very good, coming off of a losing effort, but it wasn't his fault. 5 innings, just I believe it was 1 earned, but a few came in that just weren't earned, so he was pitching. To me, this is probably a spot in which you take a peek at the Dodgers, okay? I do think that obviously they are the better offense, the better team, all that. Yamamoto on the mound definitely is a little bit of an edge over Chase Burns, in my opinion, as well. So I'll lean Dodgers, but I'm going to give this Reds offense and how they've been playing, in which they've won 7 of their last 10, and they've been scoring decent, right? They have a 6-7-5-8-5-8-4. That's like, 6 games of the last 10 in which they went for 4+. I think I give them credit to be able to at least kind of consistently pick away throughout this game. Is it all going to be against Yamamoto? No, but this LA bullpen has definitely blown plenty of games in terms of allowing runs late or making this team sweat, so that's where I come from the over, but I do think the Dodgers offense at some damn point is going to kick it into gear. Shout out to my Red Sox for taking 2 of 3 against them. We love to see that. But at some point, this Dodgers team has to go. In a ballpark like Great American Ballpark, it just seems like this is a recipe for success. If you don't like the idea of the Dodgers, maybe you kind of take an alternate line of them and say team total over 3.5. Even in this stint, last 10 or 15 games of them really not scoring all that well, they've still been able to put up 4 runs plenty. So maybe that's a parlay piece if you feel a little bit iffy about the Dodgers. But give me the Dodgers as well as that over 9. If we can buy it down to 8.5, really wouldn't mind that. The only wrench in that plan, I think, is Yamamoto. He's obviously an absolute stud. All right, next up, we got the White Sox taking on Philadelphia. Chris Sanchez on the bump for Philadelphia, going up against Davis Martin. Obviously, there's a strong advantage there for the Philadelphia Phillies, but those odds are pretty crazy at 256. So this could be a parlay piece. I think what I would do with this is actually say, okay, we know Chris Sanchez is on the mound. That's probably the premium of the price. Maybe we take an alternate line for their total runs. We don't have to necessarily, worry about, not that we would worry about Chris Sanchez. He's absolutely filthy, but we're kind of more or less just focusing on the offense because I don't think Davis Martin is in the best spot here. He has been a little bit better at home, but he's going to throw fastball, cutter, sinker, slider. A lot of these pitches, other than the cutter, Philadelphia should be able to hit. So, I like the idea of Philadelphia, maybe their team total over. And then in terms of pitch mix, so in terms of fastball, cutter, and then the slider and the sinker, I do like the idea of maybe Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper in some sort of a, each to get a hit parlay. So, Phillies team total over. We could also go alternate line paired up with the Dodgers team total like we just even mentioned. But, that and the Schwarber-Harper hit parlay could be something of interest. Now, the only thing that can keep me off of that is if we plugged it in and I haven't gotten the odds for that, and it's like minus 130 or something like that. If this is anywhere near even odds, I like that hit parlay. But Davis Martin being better at home, being better against lefties, obviously both these guys are lefties, would be the thing that says, okay, well, I want even-ish, maybe minus 105 maximum odds for this, not necessarily minus 130. So it's kind of a price thing for me at this point. But both of these guys in terms of our predicts, in fact, we can show you on the screen right now too, right? This would be good. Predicts.com, scorepredicts.com, Predix is how you spell predicts in that. We'd give pitch mix ratings. You can see here, 7.4, and what was that? We probably should zoom in so you guys could see it. Right here we have Kyle Schwarber, 3.3, 7.4 for the pitch mix. What that does is weighs the pitches they're going to see and then gives a rating based on how well they hit those pitches. So I think could be a nice little spot for both these guys. So yeah. Couple things that we could be looking at in this game. Nothing that's solidified yet, but if we can get odds for good odds for that hit parlay, same game parlay it up, I think. All right, kind of a quick one here for me because I don't have the strongest of takes on it. We have the Royals taking on the Braves. Rich Hill on the bump going up against Spencer Strider. Rich Hill did not look all that terrible in that start against the Cubs. I mean, earned run-wise, not so much. He did have 3 runs come in while he was pitching, but only on 6 hits. 5 innings pitched there. I think he only had like 1 strikeout though. But ultimately, I guess, again, we faded him. I'm glad that we did, but he didn't look all that terrible, right? They had that, was that the game in which they had the interference and whatnot that kind of brought in a run, if I'm not mistaken? They've done that a couple times recently. But anyways, Spencer Strider on the other side of things, and I don't know if he's necessarily been foolproof backable, but enough to kind of back the Braves here in this spot for me, especially because he's really good against righties, and a lot of those scary bats in this KC lineup are righties. The problem is I don't think that we want to pay, nearly minus 150 for the Braves here. So I would say Braves or their team total over. If we get to this Kansas City bullpen, they're super taxed. You can even see in our dashboard, which right after this game, I'll explain how to get access to this dashboard because I've popped it up a couple times on the screen. But look at all these guys that have thrown recently, right? So this is probably a Braves or a team total spot for us. I just want to monitor the price and make sure we can get a good number overall because as of right now, I think it's a little expensive, but we'll keep looking into this one throughout the day. But like I said, kind of a quick one here because going back and forth through a few things. Getting access to that dashboard is super simple. Over on GuyBostonSports.com, you can see it right here. Head over to the members area. You can click MLB Dashboard. Now, I'm already logged in, so I will see the dashboard right away. It's probably going to take a little bit longer to load because I am recording at the same time. But we also have the legacy version of the dashboard if you like that, in which you can kind of open this up. You could print it out, scroll down, it comes through as a PDF. You get each and every game broken out in a visual format, right? If you like the more integrated into the site, here it is. You can see the first game loads. We have all games loading at the top. So that one we just looked at, you can click Atlanta versus KC, and boom, you get each and every game in a visual format. This updates each and every day. If you are not logged in, which is probably the better way of showing you, right? I'll show you without access, because just a couple extra steps to get access. So you'll come in, MLB dashboard. Okay, you don't have access, join now, and we only have the MLB dashboard available right now. You can see $6.99 per month. It's very easy to go ahead and check out. So yeah, if you do want to support us and get a great tool at the same time, head over to GuyBostonSports.com, head over to the MLB dashboard and sign up today. All right, Minnesota taking on the Red Sox. Red Sox looking all right. I thought my future for them to win, I think, 86.5 games, over 86.5, was dead in the water. They're sitting there at 57-50. There's a chance they could pull this thing out, right? So, yeah, I don't know about today. Simeon Woods Richardson, I have given a lot of flack to, but he's been very good. His only bad start was against the Dodgers recently, so I think we could throw that out. Dick Fitz on the other side for the Red Sox. Not exactly my cup of tea, so I think this one is going to be a twin spot, but ultimately, I'm going to lean slightly towards the over just yet again because I think this Red Sox team has been scoring a lot of timely runs. It looks like we'll be in a decent spot in terms of, ballpark pals, run index and everything like that. So to me, yeah, not a bad spot to take a peek at both the Twins, yes, fading my own team, but also an over. Like, this is sitting at 9.5. The bullpen on the Red Sox side of things, I don't have as much trust in, even though some of their numbers are very good. And the Twins, though they've been actually at times the best bullpen in the league, or one of. They've been struggling lately, and the starter's going to throw a ton of sliders and fastballs. Red Sox hit that, so I think I'm talking myself into an over here. I kind of like it at 9 with that push potential, so 9.5 gets a little dicey, but that's what I'm looking at in this game. Dick Fitz is going to throw the fastball slider as well. This Twins team hits the slider well, and like I already said about Simeon Woods Richardson, he's going to throw fastball slider. Red Sox are hitting both those pitches really well. Last 30 days, number 1 against the fastball in terms of runs above average, and number 4 against the slider. Give me that over, and this is also a game in which if someone was on the Sox, I would not try and talk you off of it. I get it. I just am not a big Dick Fitz guy. All right, Milwaukee taking on Chicago. This should be also a very good game. We have Jacob Misiorowski on the mound going up against Matthew Boyd. Now, Matthew Boyd has been really, really good. No earned run in his last 3 starts. It was against St. Louis, the Yankees, and the Royals. So a mixed bag of offenses there, right? But he went 5 innings, no earned, 8 innings, no earned, 7 innings, no earned. Miso Soup looking really good as well, right? Dodgers and Seattle, his last 2 starts, combined 9 2/3, just 1 earned. But the one thing I do, and I'm cautious of, is the fact that they've already announced that they're going to be pretty light with his workload and whatnot. So I think in this one, yeah, he's a really good pitcher. I'm going to lean first 5 under because I think we'll only get, 5 innings maximum out of him. If we don't, then sure, I think that helps the under as well because I think that he's that good, right? But to me, I'm a little worried that they're going to say, hey, we'll take him out. We're going to be cautious with him. Whereas Matthew Boyd has been pitching deep into games, and that's also going to make me lean towards the Cubs. And based on the odds we're getting with the Cubs right now, I do feel comfortable in that. I think the first 5 under is something that I'm looking at a little bit stronger. But again, as of right now, this is something that I'm considering as a final play. The Cubs right now, I think you can get at minus 105. Seems like a pretty decent discount there, ultimately. A player prop that I'm looking at would be Yelich, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's only just 1 for 5 against Matthew Boyd, and he's really struggling against lefties so far this season. In terms of how he's doing more recently, I would say it's a little bit better, 222 average, but he's going to get the fastball. He's kind of got a meh pitch mix rating against that in terms of runs above average. Everything else, whether it's a curve or the slider, I think we could see some struggles out of him. So it's going to be those next pitches that we'll see that I think kind of trip him up from Boyd. Just hoping that this bullpen can kind of keep it together. But again, first 5 under probably what I'm leaning towards the most in this one, because I think we can at least get the peak of, Misiorowski and Matthew Boyd, obviously someone that I feel like we can trust at this moment in time. By the way, I should mention, you are going to be paying a decent amount of juice for that one. If you want to pivot and say, okay, well, what about a first 3 under? I don't have the odds, but let me see if I can pull that up very, very quickly so we kind of know what we're talking about here, because that would also be something that I'd say, okay, well, if you can get better number for the first 3, maybe we take a peek at that. So under 2.5 for minus 140. Don't necessarily mind that. It looks like the Cubs have been a team that kind of gets off to the races early and often so far this year, like especially when Matthew Boyd's pitching, he has a way better hit rate for that first 5. So we'll see. Either one of those I think does work for me. Probably going to expect a final play with one of those. St. Louis taking on Miami. We have Edward Cabrera on the mound for Miami. He's going up against Andre Pallante for this St. Louis team. I like the Marlins in this spot. The reason being, I think that they're worth the price you're getting. I think this is going to be like a 50-50 affair. So as I argue for the Marlins, it's just because they have the plus number next to their name, okay? I like their team total over as well. The problem here is that it's going to be like 97 degrees. You're like, oh my God, that means runs, right? But strong winds blowing in directly into the batter's face. So that's going to be a little tough. I think that does fit Pallante pretty well too, because he's a ground ball pitcher. So I do understand it if someone's sitting there being like, okay, well, maybe this is a spot in which the Marlins do hang in there and it is somewhat of a low scoring game and they get to their 4 runs and win it. But I think the Marlins win like a 4-3 game here. So I like their team total over, but I don't even mind the under or the first 5 under in the game in general. In fact, let's see if we can add that in, because it is a little weird. I get it, like looking at Marlins team total over and first 5 under. But I think that this is a spot in which the Marlins just kind of get to their number and, they can hit up Pallante overall. But Nolan Arenado is also a play that I'm definitely strongly considering throwing in. I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for a couple of different reasons here. He's going to get a really tough pitch mix from Edward Cabrera, who's been very, very good lately. He's going to get, obviously, the changeup, the curveball, and the sinker. The curve he hits fairly well, but even where Edward Cabrera puts it, down and outside to him, not exactly a sweet spot, right? But that changeup and sinker, which will combine for nearly 50% of his pitch mix, could be a very, very good spot. Even if we get to to his fourth pitch, it's going to be the slider, in which Nolan Arenado has not been hitting all that well. So I like the spot here. He's struggling against righties lately, just 133 over the last 30 days. So a lot that we can go with in this game, and they all seem kind of viable in a sense. I think that you're getting a good value spot for Arenado under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, though. But even this first 5 under, like, I'm taking a peek at, I'm like, maybe that's something we can get to. But at the same time, I like Miami's team total over. We'll sound the psycho alert alarm because things are a little crazy here, but keep an eye on the final plays. Plenty that can come out of this game. I think Arenado ranks supreme in this one, but maybe we sprinkle on something else. All right, Houston taking on, I almost said Houston taking on the Astros. Houston taking on the Nats. This is kind of tough because I do think Houston's probably in a good spot, and I like Washington's team total under, but this Astros team has lost us some bread recently, haven't they? But Framber Valdez is on the bump today, and I think that's the guy that we can definitely trust. In fact, I think either their last win or their second to last win, because they've lost 4 straight now, Valdez was the one that went out there and pitched, right? Washington has Brad Lord on the mound, which we're probably only going to get 4 to 5 innings out of him. He hasn't been terrible, I can't say that, but he's no Valdez, right? And Valdez is going to throw a ton of sinkers and a ton of curveballs. Washington struggles to hit both of those pitches. So I do think that we could be seeing a Washington team total under, very, very different there in this spot. It's just a matter of if we can kind of swallow our pride and say, okay, you know what? Let's trust this Astros team. We're not trusting their offense. We're trusting Framber Valdez, which I think I feel a little bit more comfortable in, but it's probably going to be super, super juiced to look at that Washington team total under. So that's the direction we'd go in. Just not sure if we can fully get there. I feel like the books beat us to that one for sure. All right, Angels taking on Texas. This Texas team is looking pretty damn good, huh? They've won now, I believe it's 9 of their last 10. They've won 6 straight. Athletics, Atlanta, Detroit, Houston, they got a couple wins off of, so not the worst of competition. It's not like they've been world beating, but the offense has been cruising 8-6, 8-2, 6-7 in their last 6 games or so. Angels have on the mound today is going to be Jack Kachanowicz, projected starter. I don't think that's confirmed yet, but he's going up against Jacob deGrom, and I think that's where you lose somebody, right? So this will be a few different things. I don't know if we get to any of these, but it'll be Rangers team total over or Angels first 5 team total under, backing deGrom ultimately. The thing that might keep me off of that, and I think it's worth noting, is that fastball slider is deGrom's pitch mix pretty much, right? He has the curve, doesn't throw very, very often. Yes, they're different. It's a fastball and slider from deGrom. He's obviously very good, but fastball Angels have been hitting. The slider Angels have been hitting. Where I think Texas can continue their heroics in terms of offensively is that the sinker and slider are going to make up over 75%. I think it's actually like 79% of the pitch mix from Kachanowicz, and they hit that really, really well. So that's why I still think Texas can win, but their team total over I like because of that. There's also sort of the drawback that, okay, well, it's against a lefty. They're not all that tremendous, against that hand. So actually, Kachanowicz is the righty, correct? So they could be okay. I do still like Texas team total over, and they hit his pitch mix really well. So maybe that's some sort of way to beat around the bush and not have to pay that premium price tag for Texas. All right, quick one here for me. We have San Diego taking on the Mets. I'm going to say Padres in the under. In this one, we have Montas on the mound for the Mets going up against Dylan Cease. Now, Dylan Cease has been a guy that has looked pretty good in his last couple starts. Washington and Miami being those starts. Frankie Montas has also looked okay. Kansas City and the Angels, I believe it was. So not sure how much we can put into that. But ultimately, the thing that I like here is that we'll have a really big pitch mix for Montas. And this is not a San Diego team that's hitting righties all that tremendously. You flip it over to Dylan Cease, who's going to throw 50% sliders. This Mets team really, really struggling against the slider. I believe it's only Nimmo and Marte that hit the slider well out of the entire lineup. He's also been decent at home, right? He's had some decent starts. So an under is going to be a spot, especially if we like the Padres. I don't think that they're going to absolutely run away with it. Their bullpen's in a little bit better shape too. The thing that I would have to figure out if we can, get behind and kind of swallow is the idea of consuming, minus 130 odds for the Padres against a Mets team that's won 6 or 7 straight games. So there are some question marks there, but it would be Padres or under for me in this one. Before we move on to the next game, guys, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and commenting 28. You made it past the 28-minute mark in the video. Really do appreciate it. Go ahead and comment that if you made it this far. Like I said, I really mean that when I say I appreciate it, because this tells me that someone sat through all the blabbering and all the ranting like I'm doing now and is still watching, nearly a half hour into the show. So really, really would appreciate that. You just comment in a couple numbers. It means so much more to me than you probably even think it does ultimately. But yeah, comment 28 if you made it this far into the video. Let's go. A couple games left. All right, San Fran, Pittsburgh. We have a new pitcher on the mound for San Fran, Carson Whisenhunt, making his debut. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest prospect, analyzer or anything like that, but what we do know from him is that he's had 18 starts in the minors. Decent K to walk rate. In terms of his ERA, 4.4, but a whip of 1.34, so don't necessarily know exactly what we're going to be getting out of him. On the other side, we have Mitch Keller, who has been a serviceable pitcher for sure, and he's been really good on the road this year. So I think for the plus money, it'll be Pirates for me. In terms of the total, I'm still going to lean towards an under just because you have a Pirates offense that hasn't looked all that great, and I don't think San Francisco is going to absolutely tag up Mitch Keller, right? So I'm going to lean towards the under. Maybe it is just an underplay, but the problem is you have a new pitcher coming into the league here, 7.5 total. That seems pretty damn low. And using our dashboard, you can even see here, obviously we have no data of the pitcher, but their bullpen, they've thrown a decent amount of pitches over the last couple of days. So this is probably going to be a Pirates lean and an under lean, neither that absolutely gets to the final window. If we did maybe like a half unit play, because I do like the idea of, Pittsburgh never seeing this pitcher before. They're also a bad offense to begin with. And then Mitch Keller pitching well. Maybe we just say, maybe we should add this to it. Ready? We'll go SF team total under 2. That way we don't necessarily have to worry about this kid pitching. So that could be something we get behind. But again, because it's 7.5 total, these odds are probably going to be pretty damn crappy. All right, we got the A's taking on Seattle. I like the idea of the Mariners here. They have Luis Castillo on the mound going up against JP Sears. I will give credit to this Athletics team because they deserve it. They have 4 straight wins here. They beat the Astros. We took the Astros in that series yesterday. Seattle's been kind of up and down, right? But I do think Castillo can kind of hang in. Even his one start this year, 5 innings, 4 Ks, just 2 earned against them. We did have, was it that same series or that same game? I think it was the same series. JP Sears look okay, but he's coming off a really good start against Texas. I do think that he's kind of bound to regress a little bit here. So I'm going to take the Mariners. I like the over, though, because this Athletics team, they've been scoring, and if anything, I don't think it's like Luis Castillo totally suppresses this Athletics team. I think that we could see some runs out of them, and once we get to both bullpens, I think this Athletics bullpen could blow it as well. I mean, yes, yesterday we saw Houston score in the 9th inning, but they still lost, 7-1, so they scored late. I think the Mariners can do something similar. We have a decent, like Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Arizarena, even Josh Naylor now, decent against the left-handed pitching in terms of their OPS. So I like the idea of an over, and like I said, if Luis Castillo doesn't do great, then I think the Athletics put up their fair of numbers too. So Mariners in the over, simple enough for me. Guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you're dropping those right of the days, commenting 28 as well, and tune back in around 3:30 Eastern time. We will be going live. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.